Hello and welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Show. I am your host, Jay Jones. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the Black community by promoting business ownership. If you are currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we invite you to join us every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 310. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is titled Black to the Future, Building Wealth for the Future from Lessons of the Past. Black to the Future, Building Wealth for the Future from Lessons of the Past. Now, I did say black to the future, family, not back to the future. So what we're going to talk about today is our rich heritage and what we can draw from our past. Nation building, building pyramids, all the way up to Black Wall Street. We're going to talk about things that were in the past that we can use to continue to build for the future. Sometimes I think we forget how powerful people that we are. And so there's a saying that says there's nothing new under the sun. So we may have access to new technologies, but there's nothing new under the sun. So we want to learn from our past to improve our future. Today, family, we're going to talk about 8 different practices or things that we can apply today that will help us build wealth in the future. Now, we all know what's going on right now in this country and around the world. And I talked about it last week in my episode. And once again, if you guys read the slave codes of 1705 and what they're talking about, you know that there's a war going on. So we need to prepare ourselves. And the only way for revolution to work, guys, is with economics. Once again, there's no revolution without economics. Economics controls everything. So we're going to talk about things that we can do today, which we've taken from the past. We're going to look back in the past, see what's been successful, and now hopefully apply these type of things, concepts, and applications for the future. But once again, I just want to read this once again, family, because it is so powerful, talking about the slave codes of 1705. And if you can just get this drilled into your head, that this is what's going on, and it's been going on for hundreds of years. And so if you ask yourself, why are we in this condition? This is specifically what it is. One of the things I'm going to talk to you guys today about is organization. And so the enemy is organized. OK, the system is organized. But once again, the slave codes of 1705, the slave codes required all individuals, churches, businesses, organizations, schools, and all levels of government to teach, justify, and enforce the status of blacks as subordinate, excluded, non-competitive, non-compensated, managed workforce for the personal comfort and wealth of white society. I'm going to read it one more time in case you missed it. And listen to this, family. Really listen to it. The slave codes required all individuals, churches, businesses, organizations, schools, and all levels of government to teach, and not only just teach, family, but to justify and enforce the status of blacks as subordinate, excluded, non-competitive, non-compensated, managed workforce for what? For the personal comfort and wealth building of white society. That's the game plan. So basically, every aspect of your life, you see white supremacy intertwined in it. OK, you see it obviously through individuals. You see it in the churches. So I sent out a text or IG post the other day. So if you go to a multiracial church or whatever, and you have a white pastor, and that pastor he or she hasn't been up on the pulpit talking about racism and white supremacy, you need to use your discernment to find out if that's the church you want to be in. These pastors have a responsibility, if they're truly men of God or women of God, to address this situation. Okay. So once again, it affects every aspect of your life, individuals, churches, businesses. Okay. We've seen what happened with businesses. Okay. You can't get the job because, quote unquote, you're not qualified enough. And then they hire somebody of a different color and give them the position. Organizations. OK, we know all about that. Schools. What are they teaching our kids in school? Miseducation of the Negro. Right. Same thing is going on today. All levels of government. OK, so we see what's going on in the White House. Donald Trump and his minions. So these slave codes have been intertwined in our history for hundreds of years. And they say not just to teach this, but to justify and enforce the status of blacks as subordinate, excluded, non-competitive, non-compensated, managed workforce for what? The personal comfort and wealth building of white society. There it is. That's it. All right. So what we're talking about today, guys, is Black to the Future, building wealth for the future from lessons of the past. And the way you combat this is you create your own. No revolution without economics. OK. Marching is fine. We need that. We got to hit them from all types of angles. Marching is fine. But when you hit them in the pockets, when you make yourself self-reliant, self-sufficient, that's when, just like with the Montgomery bus boycott, shut that thing down. Now, the only thing they should have done was started their own bus line as opposed to just, using their power to financially cripple that bus line because we wanted not just to sit in the back of the bus. Once we shut that thing down, we should have created our own bus line and never gone back to the Montgomery bus system. And that's the way we got to think. OK, you see what the game plan is of white supremacy and racism. Now, once again, those are systems, but anybody that advances those systems, once again, is your enemy. They're good. Man, look, I'm not even going to get in there about good people and bad people, but anybody that advances those types of thoughts or those practices, that's your enemy. OK, so let's get that clear. Now, let's talk about some of the things that we can do, that we can take from the past and apply today to help us build wealth for the future. And this is in no particular order. And there are about 8 things that I want to talk about. First thing is number 1, to be community focused versus individually focused. And I know a lot of times it's about, what's best, for my community should be the question. Now, understand you got to take care of yourself and your home first, but you need to have a mindset about not just yourself, about community. So when I talk about this all the time and you see young brothers and sisters that may be out there in the drug game because they think that's the only opportunity or only way out. I get the thought process, but if you really break it down, that's detrimental to our community because most of the people, they're not going into the white neighborhoods, the wealthy neighborhoods to sell whatever they're selling. They're selling it to our people. OK, you look at the heroin addiction back in the 60s and early 70s. Vets coming back from Vietnam destroyed many of the major cities. Then you got the crack epidemic. And so what that's doing, that's individually focused thinking versus community focused thinking. And we have to stop that. We have to understand that the way our people are, we're community based people. OK, so the land was not my land or my neighbor's land. The land was community land. Back in the motherland, it was the community land. We worked as a group, as a clan. When we got something to eat, everybody ate. The land wasn't used to grow crops just for me. Oh, I got an acre over here. My boy got an acre over there. No, it was everybody's. So it was a communal type focus. And that's what we need to get back to. I get it. If you can't keep your electricity on, you can't even think about community until you get your own personal thing on. I get that. I understand that. But once you get to that point, your thinking needs to elevate where you start thinking about community and be community focused. OK, not individually focused. Get yours first. Do what you need to do. Now you got to start leveling up and focus on the community. Next thing I want to talk about is practice group economics, okay? Versus, once again, every man for himself. When I say man, I mean man and woman. Every person for himself. So practice group economics. And I talked about this on several shows before, but just look around. How many barbershops do you have in your neighborhood, right? If I go out, man, around the couple, I probably got about 7 or 8 barbershops within a 5 or 6 block radius around where I live, right? Now, one of the things about group economics is instead of each of the barbers buying their own supplies, why don't they form a co-op and go and buy supplies together and get them at a lower cost? And so I talked about this before. So a lot of the Chinese in Chinatown, they have a buying in Philadelphia. They have a cooperative buying group. So when they go out to buy bulk rice or, supplies for their business, they get it at a lower cost. Perfect example. And I mentioned this in one of the other podcasts before too. These corner stores. So if you have an Asian run, Korean or Chinese corner store or whatever, and you have a black owned store on the other corner, the chances are that the Asian store may have lower prices because they buy cooperatively. So a whole bunch of these Asian corner store owner people get together, form a co-op, and when they go to the warehouse, they may be able to get the bag of potato chips at a cost of 25 cents, where the brother who's going by himself or sister who has their store and they're not in a co-op go by themselves. And now the bag of potato chips costs them 30 cents, 35 cents. So when they sell it at a higher price, you think they're trying to gank you. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they're trying to still make a profit based on buying at a higher price. That's why you need control, family. You need vertical control. We'll talk about that at another date. But practice group economics. Okay, so, and I just use barbers as an example, but you can use it in any type of industry. Okay, cooperative buying, practice group economics versus every person for himself. Next thing I want to talk about, number 3, is building and supporting Black-owned businesses. And I talk about this all the time. And I got to continue to talk about it because we're not listening. All right, so once again, why are Black-owned businesses important for our community? Number 1, we circulate dollars in our own pockets. Number 2, as that business grows, if that business needs to hire people, statistics show most businesses will hire people that look like them. So you go to the corner store, the Asian corner store, the Chinese store, I guarantee you 99.9% of the employees are going to be Chinese and probably family members. And they have a right to do that. Just because they're extracting money out of our community doesn't mean that they have to hire us. If we want to get hired, then we need to build the businesses. So building and supporting Black-owned businesses. So what they do is they extract the money out of our community. They take it back in their community. Because I guarantee you all the products that they're buying in those corner stores, they're buying theirs from a Chinese distributor. Now, they may have to get certain things directly from the manufacturers themselves, but I guarantee you they're taking that money out of our community and they're circulating it when they have to buy supplies. They're getting it from distributors and warehouses that are owned by the same ethnicity. And one of your biggest things that we talked about before, guys, is the hair industry, how the Koreans got that on lock. I guarantee you when they go buy their supplies, it's a vertical business. All of the retail establishments are buying from Korean warehouses. Okay, that's where they get this stuff from. They're getting the money from us because we're the ones in there buying everything. And they're taking that money and they're recycling it through their own people, which in turn creates wealth, keeps the dollar in their community. Whereas we can't wait to give the dollar away to other ethnicities. So I don't want to hear any complaining about, they in our neighborhood. But why don't you start a corner store? There's nothing that's going to stop you from creating your own hair care business. I know there's a cat out there, I forgot his name, but he's teaching people how to start your own hair care products store, retail organizations or stores. We need to do that. You look at the nail salons. Who are most of their customers? Yeah, it is. They're us. They're black men and women. And we in there and they dominate in that industry. See, a lot of us think that, that ain't no real business. Yeah, it is. It's a real business, especially when you own 5, 10, 15, or 20 of them all around the city. See, business doesn't have to be sexy. Like I told you guys before, when I was a stockbroker, one of my biggest clients owned a clothes hanger manufacturing company. Millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. That's not a sexy business. Big warehouse, making wooden hangers, wire hangers, plastic hangers. Selling them to large retailers in bulk. Walmart, Sears, Macy's, selling clothes hangers. Business doesn't have to be sexy. It just has to be profitable. Okay? It's got to yield. It's got to be profitable. So, number 3, building and supporting black-owned businesses. And everybody is online right now. We all using social media. We have access to, and this is what A New Black Wall Street, my book, talks about. We have access to the internet at our fingertips. And I know people are buying things online through Amazon. Okay, you probably got the Amazon app on your phone, right? So if you're comfortable buying online, then start seeking out black-owned businesses to buy from online. It's a conscious decision. The problem is we're making unconscious decisions. We're not cognizant of where we're spending our money. We're so used to spending money without thinking about it, we just continue to do so. And I'm not going to harp on this too long because this could be a whole show into and of itself. But guys, we spend less than 2 cents of every dollar in a black-owned business. We spend less than 2 cents of every dollar in a black-owned business. We can't circulate the dollar in our community for 24 hours. It doesn't even last that long. Okay, so be conscious where you spend your money. It's a worldwide economy out there right now. Stop giving people money that don't give a damn about you. Stop. I saw the other day, somebody showed something. I guess this was recently when they opened the Tommy Hilfiger store or something. There was a whole line of people running to spend their money in Tommy Hilfiger. Spend money with somebody that don't even care about you. Somebody that could give a damn about you. And I'm not just talking about Hilfiger. I'm talking about Versace. I'm talking about Gucci. I'm talking about most of the major high-end brands that are created by other people for other people. They'll take your money, but they don't want you wearing that stuff. That stuff wasn't designed for you. When we got all of these great designers and high-end fashion labels here, I just had my man Paul Arrington on the other week. Top of the line fashion design. Nobody's knocking over his door to give him money. And this is a brother that does stuff for the community. Y'all better recognize and stop playing. That apathy or ignorance, meaning not knowing. Well, I'm not even going to call it ignorance. I'm going to call it apathy. Because anybody that listens to this show, I know that they've already reached their point of enlightenment. And the point of enlightenment means that there's no excuse now because you know better. You know better now. Not saying that you can't buy that stuff, but you got to support black-owned businesses and be conscious and make sure that you do that. Okay? All right, you may like Versace. Yeah, all right, go ahead and buy it, whatever. But put some of your money with the brothers and sisters over there, the other designers. Okay? Why does it have to be a white designer that makes something hot? It's almost like you waiting for them to validate you. I'm going to go buy their overpriced clothes or whatever so it validates me. Why are we always waiting for somebody to validate us when we need to be validating our damn self? Man, don't get me started on this. All right. That's by building and supporting black-owned businesses. Next, I want to talk about creating apprenticeships and mentorships. And today's topic, family, is Black to the Future, building wealth for the future from lessons of the past. We need to take the lessons that our forefathers and ancestors had and apply them today to help build wealth for the future. creating apprenticeships / mentorships for people today. So right now, they've taken all of that trades out of the schools now. Okay, so some people that don't want to go to college, have no desire to go to college, years ago they could learn a trade and be able to take care of their families. But we don't have those in schools anymore, and that is specifically designed so that school to prison pipeline continues to fill up. If you can't take care of yourself or your family, the propensity of you to do something that's illegal increases. So when they took all the trades and everything out of the schools, high schools, now you got a faction of students, black students, that don't want to go to college, have no interest in college, don't have any hard skills in order to make money or make enough money to live. Before, you could be a pipe fitter, a welder, a carpenter, and start making money and take care of a family. You can't do that now. So what we need to focus on, guys, is creating apprenticeships and mentorships. So entrepreneurship, for example, I mentor for free about 4 young black entrepreneurs. We have calls. I try to work them and help them through their situations. And that's just a way for me to be able to give back. So I don't care what industry you're in, what level of industry you're in or whatever. You can always mentor someone younger than you or somebody newer than you in the industry and help them grow. Apprenticeship. If you have a skilled trade, bring somebody in. If you're a carpenter, find a young brother or young sister that's interested in learning the carpentry trade. My grandfather was a carpenter. My dad's dad was a carpenter. Take somebody, and he would take my dad and kids, take them to learn carpentry. Take them out on jobs. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. Get them to a point where you can be a professional. And what professional means is you're making money from it. An amateur doesn't make money. So even as an entrepreneur, that is a profession. If you're not making money as an entrepreneur, you're an amateur. And I know it takes time to start making money, but that's what it is. So we need to create apprenticeships and mentorships for the trades and for entrepreneurs. So if you have an insurance business, okay, you may have a State Farm, Allstate, or you may be an independent insurance agent or broker. Find somebody younger in college, high school, whatever, that wants to learn that industry. Bring them on in. Teach them what you know. Help set that next generation up for building wealth. So that's creating apprenticeships and mentorships. The next, I believe, is number 5. Yeah, number 5 is organize. All right, family, this is major right here. We got to start organizing because that's where our downfall lies. If we bring in over $1.3 trillion a year, we should be further along than we are. The problem is everybody's scattered. All of those resources are scattered. They're not organized. They're not laser focused. So when you organize or build organizations, you just have to look at the Nation of Islam. You look at the Black Panthers back in the 60s. Marcus Garvey's organization, UNIA. Okay, we need to build organizations locally in the grassroots fashion, so we can protect and provide opportunities for our people. The white folks have the police. They got law enforcement. They protect their communities, right? So we have block captains. We have community organizations. We have all types of different organizations to be able to protect and provide opportunities. So if you're a community and you have all types of business people, business women, businessmen in there, start holding monthly meetings, bring kids in or whatever. But we need to start to organize. And if things aren't organized, guys, they don't get done. So we need to start from a grassroots foundation. Now, I had thought about starting an organization that's a grassroots foundation, kind of like the National Action Network with Al Sharpton. Problem is, I don't know if I have the bandwidth. I know I don't have the bandwidth to do that and to keep the uniformity. The reason the Nation of Islam is so powerful is because it's uniformed. their practices, their codes. They have different, not organizations, they have different locations throughout the world. And they can affect change from a local standpoint, which then goes into a national and global standpoint. It's organization. Everybody's in lockstep. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. We need to start building organizations, family. Okay? And the focus of those organizations should be to protect and also to provide opportunities. Next, we want to talk about self-education. And I'm not talking about just going to college and get your master's and doctorates and all that good stuff, which is great, which is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay. But the thing is, guys, we don't have to wait to be educated if you're formally, so to speak. Malcolm X, very smart man, educated himself in prison and out of prison in the Nation of Islam. Self-education, reading books, watching things, documentaries, learning how to do things, taking classes in person and online, educating yourself. Stop waiting for others to educate you, and don't depend on the school system to teach your children what they really need to know. What they really need to know. My wife is a principal at a high school, and she always tells me they're teaching and they know that it's wrong. She said the problem with schools is now teachers are teaching to pass tests. Okay. All they want to do is they want that school to have high test scores, not applicable skills that they can use to take to the next level. And that's why I talked about SHOP when they took all of those trades out of high schools. It's all about passing tests and making the numbers look good, as opposed to providing the education specifically for us that we need, because we face different issues and concerns as white folks coming out of college or high school. You know, you can go get a job, and I've seen it, and I know you guys have seen it too. Somebody that's less qualified is your boss. You got a bachelor's degree and they got a high school diploma when barely got out of there. And because there's some nepotism, their dad or their mom or their aunt or uncle is in the company, then they get a position and start off at a higher level than you and end up being your boss. And you know they know absolutely nothing. But guess what? You can do that when you owning stuff. So we gotta self-educate. So I heard who was that I was listening to? I think it might have been Floyd Mayweather, the boxer. And he was saying that, look, my goal was to be the greatest boxer that I could be. And he said the only way you can do that is turn professional and put all of your focus on boxing. And it paid off for him. So if you don't want to go to college and you have another idea of how you're going to make money, you may not have the money to go to college, but you can still learn how to code, right? You may not have the money to go to college, but you can still try to self-educate yourself to do things that will enable you to make money. So we need self-education. And once again, guys, if you're listening to this and you have young children in elementary and middle school and even high school, don't expect them to learn real history. It's whitewashed history. So what I used to do, you need to make sure that you fill in the gaps. You need to buy books about black historical figures, great black people. You're going to get in school. You might get Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, and that may be it. You might get a few other people, but that's all they're going to gloss over. What you want to do, family, as a parent, is your job, not the school's job. It's your job to make sure that your children are educated the way you see fit. Educated and understand that there's a difference between being a young black man out here and a young black sister out here versus being a white person. There are things that are intrinsic just to us that we need to focus and let our children know. They're not going to get the history, the real black history. That's your job. You know, a lot of times people may turn to crime, younger kids, because they don't have any self-worth. they don't feel that they're valuable, because everything they've been shown on television, everything that they've read in the textbooks, is the only place we started from was slavery, when that's obviously not the truth. We come from the lineage of kings and queens. We created astronomy. We created mathematics. So unfortunately, a lot of kids that don't get that in school don't get it at home either. So that's our job, guys, to self-educate. Next, I want to talk about creating capital funds and creating access to capital. Creating capital funds and creating access to capital. So how many people that are listening here probably have a great business idea, but they're not able to pull it off because they don't have the capital? So lack of capital, or lack of to access a capital, is one of the biggest things that holds black entrepreneurs back. So a lot of times we have to bootstrap, where we don't have those funds that we really need to kick off our business. So one of the couple of things I want to talk about, when I talked about community organizations, getting out there and working with your local black banks and credit unions. Okay. So if you're in a community that has a black bank or black credit union, take the initiative and see if you can start working with them to help bring them into the community. Okay. Bring them into the community and get in front of these black business owners that need access to capital. Also, you can start your own credit union. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, it's not that hard to start your own credit union. Of course, you're going to need a location and infrastructure and all that, but it is really not that hard to start a credit union, especially credit union versus a bank. It's a whole lot easier. Now, a thing that we can do on our own if we work as a group is create VC funding and firms, venture capital. And all that is pool resources that's going to invest in different ventures. You know, it's funny. Everybody makes it seem like this is some mysticism or mystical type thing. All it is pooling your funds and investing in businesses. So that's venture capital. Also, creating real estate investment companies, real estate investment trusts. Once again, pooling funds and investing in real estate. Also, investing in local businesses. So VCs can invest in VCs as in venture capitalists can invest in all types of businesses. Okay. And so family funds. And I was just telling my daughter and her boyfriend this the other day. When you talk about family funds, if you have a cooperative family that is able to work together, you can create a family fund that you can use to invest. So my stepfather's father grew up in the South back in the early 1900s. And he used to tell me a story about how his dad used to work on this white man's farm. And he did it for 5 years. He was cutting wood, doing all types of stuff. And one day the white man, it was raining like crazy. And the white man told him to go out there and cut this wood down. And he said the water was almost up to your waist. And his father told the white man, to hell with that. This is the last day I'm going to work for you. But what he had the wherewithal to do all the while he was working for somebody. Now, he was only like at 21 or 22 at this time. But all the while he was working, he actually was saving his money. And what he did that day that he quit, he went out and bought 284 acres of land. And he said that's the last day that his father ever worked for the white man or anybody else. And this is what he taught his children. So my stepfather had 8 brothers and sisters. So it was a total of 9 of them. And they used to have a family pot, right? So what my stepfather's father would do, he would sell the timber off his land. He would plant. He had cows. He had horses. He had all types of stuff. But what he used to tell his kids was this: don't ever buy a big expenditure at the same time, because your brothers or sisters may need you. Okay, so if everybody went out and bought a new Cadillac, now I'm joking about that, at the same time, their money might be short. So you work as a unit, you move as a unit. They had a family investment fund. So they didn't go to the bank. So if they needed a new tractor, my Uncle Clarence, we need a new tractor for the farm. All right, you go ahead and buy the tractor. We're going to take it out of the family fund. but you paying it back at X amount interest rate or whatever. So they could do personal loans and all types of stuff. Never really used the bank except buying real estate. But my stepfather, he was old school. He didn't even believe in credit cards. He ended up getting one, but he didn't even believe in credit cards. Because his thing was, if I ain't got the cash for it, then I don't need it. And he would say, if I want something big, I'm going to save up for that purchase. You know, yes, he took out car loans and stuff, but he would pay the car loans off in damn near 12 months. He might as well just waited and paid it off in cash. And another thing he used to do, family, was when he got bills. Now, this is before electronic bills. He said when the day the bill came in the mail, he was writing a check for it, sending it out the same day or the next day. He didn't let things get behind. And the reason he could do that was he managed his money. So when I talk about creating capital funds, and this is just a family fund, and this fund went on for years, 50 to 60 years. And every month, each one of them would put in X amount of dollars. And if they didn't need it, it kept growing and growing and growing. And they kept meticulous records about when somebody took a loan out, they had a treasurer. So they were like, every month, this is what you pay until that's paid off. And so now you don't need to go to the banks. You don't need to sit there and try to validate yourself. And all they're going to tell you most of the time is no when you want a business loan. I know that my stepfather bought probably about 6 or 7 rental properties using that family fund, paying them back with the cash flow from the properties, buying them free and clear. So that's what's happening right now. So if you own rental properties and you don't have people paying the rent and you still have a mortgage on that property, then you got to fork that up. So in times like the financial crisis in '08, that's why a lot of my friends who were big in real estate with rental properties lost their properties. I know a cat that lost 25 properties because they were all leveraged up to the hilt. And it's funny because one of the things that my dad told me years ago, and it's just his philosophy, people don't have to necessarily do it. Even though you want to use leverage, what my dad used to say is he would buy 2 properties at a time, right? Rent them out. When he would get one of them fully paid off, because he would put more money to one of them, he'd pay that one off, then he would sell the property. I know it sounds counterintuitive. He would sell the one property and pay off the first property. So now, as opposed to having 2 properties leveraged, which can be great in good times, but in my dad's time, it's like, nah, we ain't messing with that. He would pay off the one property. Now he had one property that was paid free and clear. So if no renter was in there, guess what? It didn't hurt him. So he was reducing his exposure to the market. Whereas if you have a whole bunch of leveraged properties and the economy goes bad and you can't get renters in there and you don't have the resources to actually pay for your mortgage payments, you can end up like the guy I know that lost 25 properties. But once again, that was his thing. He said he'd rather have fewer free and clear properties than more leveraged properties. All right. But we're talking about creating capital funds and creating access to capital. So creating access to capital was big. Years ago, my friends and I, when we were in our early 20s, we created this social club, this social group. And each month we had to put in X amount of dollars. And we do stuff like running ski trips and having parties and, making a little bit of money, but trying to build to invest in something. And slowly but surely, people stopped putting in there a lot of the amount each month. And after about 2 years, the thing just went to pot. And so if you're going to be working with people, pooling resources, you need to make sure that you have like-minded people in your group. And that's one of our problems, family. We can't commit to something. Now we'll find $700 to buy that 75-inch flat screen. But if somebody asks you to give them $100 a month in an investment group, they're going to start complaining. Once again, you got to be conscious of what you do with your money. You got to be conscious of where you spend your money. You got to be diligent about this thing. And we're talking about Black to the Future, building wealth for the future from lessons of the past. Okay. So I just gave you like old school. When you talk about Black Wall Street, a lot of those businesses were self-financed. That dollar was circulating in that community, that Greenwood community in Tulsa. It was circulating in there. Black Wall Street in North Carolina, same thing. Money was circulating, going from this person to this person to this person. From the black bank to the black retail store, back to the black bank, and through everybody else's hands. That vertical integration. So we talked about being community focused, practice group economics, building and supporting Black-owned businesses, creating apprenticeships, mentorships, organizing and building organizations, self-education, creating capital and creating access to capital. And the last one I want to talk about is buying land and real estate versus buying sneakers and Versace. Okay. Now I know there's an aftermarket for sneakers out there. I get that. All right. I get it. I understand. Some of my young boys do that. If you're making money, I'm all good with that. But buying land and real estate, that's an asset. That's an asset, a real asset. Okay. Buying Versace and Gucci ain't an asset, guys. It's not an asset. And don't ever get that twisted. I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking about the actual cost of some of these products. I was talking to one of my boys, and back in the day, when Nikes were all leather, you spend back then, $120, and it was a lot of money. Now you spending $250 for cloth and plastic, which probably costs with labor less than $3 or $4, and you spending $250 for a pair of whatever, KD, whatever you wearing. Man, I don't even know what they wearing right now, because I never really spent my money on sneakers. But you just think about buying real estate and land versus buying all kinds of other garbage. Not that you can't have nice things. I'm not saying that. Don't get that twisted. But you got to have clarity on what is an asset and what's not an asset, and where you want to really invest your money. Okay? So land and real estate, like they always say, they ain't making no more land. That was one of the things Black folks back in the day, like my grandfather, my mom's father. He used to buy land. He had it like a fifth grade education. Worked in the fields. He was from down south too. Worked in the fields. Bought a couple 100 acres of land. And that's why you see down south a lot of times, in the rural parts anyway, you'll see a bunch, like a family cluster. Because mom and dad will buy 30, 40, 50 acres. Then when the kids get older, the kids will buy a couple acres from the parents and build their own house there. And so you'll see clusters of family. So in this one small town outside of Charleston, where my mother grew up, this one town, I bet you I probably am linked. My lineage is probably damn near to 50% of the people in the town. Now they may be third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh cousins or something like that, but they're all linked. See, one of the things that happened with integration, guys, is we started moving out. We started selling the land because we ain't want to be there anymore. We're selling it, they buying it. They're developing it. They're making money. They're creating redevelopment zones and kicking you off of your own property. I always use the example of North Philly. Now they got it's one of the sections now is Northern Liberties. It's not North Philly anymore. It's Northern Liberties, because it's been redeveloped and gentrified. For a while, nobody wanted to live in there, right? So then some developer said, oh man, if I can flip this script on her, I can go ahead and get this low price land, get this redevelopment zone, increase all the taxes, bulldoze and build all these condos and townhouses and make a killing. And that's when grandma gets kicked out of the crib because she can't pay the taxes now. And ironically, they'll give a 10-year tax abatement, like in Philly. These developers, they'll give you a 10-year tax abatement, meaning you don't have to pay property taxes for 10 years if you move into this zone. While the people that live there already are getting their thing jacked from $2,000 a year down to $20,000 a year for the row house. 1,500 square foot row house maybe had in certain sections of the city, you may have been paying $2,000-$3,000 property taxes a year. Now, because it's being gentrified, it's $25,000, and grandmom and grandpa can't afford that, so they got to move. They bulldoze grandmom and grandpa's house, and they start putting up condos, and the people moving in got a 10-year tax abatement. They don't even have to pay the taxes that was on grandmom's house. That doesn't exist anymore because they knocked it down. It's crazy, man. So buying land and real estate versus buying stuff that is not an asset. Before we get to the last quarter of the show, guys, I just want to share all my social media contact information and resource links. I mentioned at the top of the show about my new book titled A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. So if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, go to anewblackwallstreet.com. Pick yourself up a copy. It's $14.95 plus shipping and handling for the print version, $9.95 for the digital version. Now, I've also created a new flagship online learning program called Brand Builder Academy Elite, BBAelite.com. It is a 12-week implementation program that takes you from A to Z in terms of building a physical products business or a digital products business. Now, it started out at $397, but the corona hit. Now, with the latest promo, it's down to $97. So go to BBAelite.com. You can register, and the coupon code is BBAelite100. That'll take $100 off the $197 price, bring it to $97. And you can find out more about that at BBAelite.com. Also, I mentioned at the top of the show, my two platforms I use to help circulate black dollars in the worldwide black economy. They are both free to use. First one is BeSmartByBlack.com. So if you are a black product producer that wants to sell to black consumers, upload your product information to BeSmartByBlack.com. It is free, and connect with black consumers that want to buy your products. Now, you freelancers, anybody that does anything on Fiverr.com or Freelancer.com, I've created Hire Black Freelancers, HIRE, BlackFreelancers.com. Upload your information. Once again, it's free, and you can connect with black businesses and black consumers that are looking to hire a black freelancer. Also, my book tour right now is on hiatus because of the COVID. But if you want to book me for speaking engagements at schools, colleges, universities for my book tour, just go to bookjjones.com. Fill out the short form. I'll get right back to you. bookjjones.com. Now, social media contact information. Anything long, family, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Anytime I say J Jones, it's written out, JAYJONES. Okay, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Facebook, just go to Facebook, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Follow me and like me there. Twitter, JJones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, JJones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, family. Additional content comes out on YouTube that is not on the podcast. And yes, the podcast does come out on YouTube, but there's additional content. So go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, hit the like and subscribe button on there for me. Also, LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Just type it in the LinkedIn search bar. Also, if you want to be included in the BEB text line for notifications and reminders about special events, and I'm about to do another live call-in show, guys, and that's coming up within the next couple of weeks. Just text BEB to 555-888, BEB to 555-888. Now, all of that is a mouthful. Just go to bebconnect.com. That's bebconnect.com. That is a page on my website, and it has all of the links that I just gave you, all the resource links and my social media contact information. Make sure you link up with me on social media and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. But you can go right to bebconnect.com. Everything is right there for you. Now, getting ready to close out the show, fam. But one of the things I just want to talk about real quick is this topic: Black to the Future, building wealth for the future from lessons of the past. So a lot of times, guys, we do need to look back to see what was successful. And yes, not everything that worked back in the past is going to work in the future. But the concepts, the application of those concepts and principles are still there. And so I'm just going to regroup real quick and go over them. Number one, community focused versus individually focused. We got to look at the bigger picture, guys. I know you got to take care of your house first. That's understandable. But we got to start looking at being community focused. What's best for my community? The bigger picture. Number two, practice group economics versus every man or woman for himself. Co-op buying organizations, create alliances, collaborations where you can work together. Okay. Number three, building and supporting black owned businesses. That's without question. That's what we do here. We're trying to build the black economy. We're trying to build that. Circulating dollars in the black economy. All right. Number four, creating apprenticeships and mentorships. And this doesn't have to be anything formal. If somebody reaches out to you and say, hey, I'd like to learn how to do whatever you do, reach back. Teach the youngsters, the younger people that are coming behind you. So we need those apprenticeships and mentorships to continue to build and grow our community. And they could be for entrepreneurship, trades, or whatever. So if you're an advertising executive at a major company and somebody wants to learn about advertising, see if you can create or be a mentor to them. That's big, guys. The next one is organize. We need to build organizations to protect and provide opportunities for our people. Okay, we got to get back into the grassroots thing there. The next is self-education. Stop waiting for others to educate you. Teach yourself and your family what they need to know. You don't expect the schools to teach. The schools weren't designed to teach the kids what they need to know. The schools were designed to teach the kids to try to pass tests. Okay? Anything else, that's your job. So don't sleep on that, family. So don't complain about Black history. You should be teaching that yourself at your own crib. Buying books for your kids when they're young, reading to them, talking about things, showing them or telling them stories about some of our Black heroes and heroines. And so self-educate. The next one is creating capital funds or creating access to capital. If you're in a bank, if you're listening to this and you work for a bank, see if your bank will start getting out there in the community, talking about their programs for entrepreneurs, for mortgages, commercial and residential mortgages. Create your own credit unions. You can also create venture capital funds, create real estate investment trusts. You know what I mean? And pool your money, invest funds in local businesses, family funds. And I know sometimes it's hard when you're working with family, but I told you the story of my stepfather's family. They had family funds and they drew any major thing that they were buying. They would go to the family and that fund had continued to build up, and that was their bank. Because a lot of times they didn't have an opportunity to go to a real bank way back in the day because of the racism that existed. And last and definitely not least, buy land and real estate versus sneakers and clothing. So basically buying assets versus buying something that's going to depreciate basically as soon as you put it on your feet or on your back or whatever. Cars, unless you're doing high-end cars or collectibles or whatever. And once again, guys, I know there's aftermarket for the sneaker game. I know that, but I'm just using that as an example. So let's start looking at buying hard assets, land and real estate. They're not making any more land. Trust me. All right. And real estate, that's a great place to invest. So we got to start being intentional and stop walking around unconscious, supporting, building, and promoting Black owned businesses. So if you on Twitter, if everybody promoted, one Black owned business each week on their social media, do you know the impact that would have? Yo, I just went to such and such's soul food. Great place. Check it out. Here's the link. If people just did that once a week on social media, do you understand the impact that we would have? We got to start leveraging this technology for business and not fun and games. And I say this all the time, guys. We always, when it comes to the new dances, we creating that. When it comes to music, we're creating that. We're the leaders in that. When it comes to fads or whatever, we're the leaders in that. We need to be the leaders in business. Start leveraging everything we have, your technology, your contacts, to help build business. And the reason I'm focusing on Black-owned business is, once again, everything is economics. There's no revolution without economics. Trust me. Trust me. We got to start focusing on the economics. So once we get the economics down, we can handle the media. We can handle the education. We can handle everything else we need to focus on. The politics. That's what it's all about, guys. So once again, today's show, Black to the Future, baby. Building wealth for the future from lessons of the past. Here's a couple of things. I'm just looking at my bookshelf right now. Black Titan, A.G. Gadsden. This you need, if you haven't read that, you got to read that. Looking at Brainwash, Tom Burrell. The Wealth Choice by Dennis Kimbrough. What else? I can't even see. I don't have my glasses on right here. But those are the type books. Why do white guys have all the fun? Reg Lewis. I can see that from here. But those are the type things, guys, that we need to start looking back to so we can pull from that. You see what I mean? And be able to move forward and start building wealth. Because that's where it starts and that's where it ends. Also, guys, I say it each and every week. We get more and more downloads, family. And that's attributed to you, the BEB family. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast and the blog. This is a movement. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. Please continue to spread the word on social media, word of mouth, smoke signals. I don't care what you got to do. We trying to get this good word out there. We're trying to get this good word out there. We're trying to build an economic power base in the Black community. And one thing is funny, when I tell my guests that come on, I said, man, we got a very responsive audience. And so the thing is, anybody that I bring on here, they're already vetted. So please support the brothers and sisters that come on to the show. They're vetted. I talk to them. I make sure I'm not bringing no nuts on here, right? So please support them. So like I said, use your social media, for more than just, having fun and reading and all of that stuff. Start, if you can do it once a week, just shout out a Black business that you went to. And I'm telling you, if we all start doing that, that's going to make a big difference. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.